Ronald Acuña Jr. and Spencer Schwellenbach remind us just how fun this Atlanta Braves team can be to watch in a series win over the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and leave me a comment down below. And if you're listening on the audio version, you can help out as well. Leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for your support here of Locked On Braves and being an everydayer of a Locked On Braves. Really do appreciate all the support here, as well as on the postcast with me and Lindsay. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta, where you can get that show, but you can also get it right here in the Locked On Braves podcast feed. Today's episode, we're going to talk about that series win in Milwaukee, where I kind of had a lot of fun watching this team again. We'll get into all of that and Ronald's exploits early on in the season and how he's been even better than I could have hoped for. And we'll set up a path for what needs to happen going forward with this Atlanta Braves team in order to turn things around. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, the Atlanta Braves do get a series win in Milwaukee, their first series win in over 3 weeks. It is getting close to approaching a month since the last time the Atlanta Braves had won a series. They had dropped 6 in a row. Their last series win was all the way back at that series in Boston. They had already lost another series to Boston in that time frame. So good to see them finally get a series win. And like I said, I had fun in this series. Middle game definitely wasn't all that fun, but still just overall in this series, it felt like the Atlanta Braves. And it reminded me of just how fun this team can be to watch whenever they're playing like they're capable of. And I think we got to see a little bit of that in this series overall. So I was really excited about that. And specifically a couple of players in this series that stood out that are reasons that you should still tune in each and every game. One of them being Ronald, who I'm going to focus on a lot here in a second, and then Spencer Schwellenbach, who had the complete game on Wednesday, but also Chris Sale and what he is doing. Even if you are fed up and frustrated with this team, I get it, and it's understandable. But those 3 players, when they are on the mound in the case of Sale and Schwellenbach, or at the plate in the case of Ronald, you just can't miss it. You don't know what these guys are going to do. And I'm going to get into Schwellenbach and all that he did, as well as the rest of the series in the second segment. But I want to start out talking about Ronald Acuña Jr. There were warranted concerns in Ronald's return after what we saw in 2022 when he came back from his first ACL injury and just didn't look like himself. And while I tried to set my expectations pretty conservatively, I still said I thought he could be a 2020 player. At this point, 20 home runs, seems inevitable, but I don't know about the stolen bases until he starts running again. But he has surpassed what I thought he would be coming back. And he came out on fire. We've already seen him come out on fire. We've seen him hit a little bit of a cold spell. And then in this series in particular, he was fantastic. But he came out first 8 games in May, 11 for 30, a 367 batting average, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 4 walks, 10 stolen bases, a 441 on-base percentage in his first 8 games. And then in his first 7 games in June, he was just 6 for 26. That's a 231 average, only 1 extra base hit, 4 walks still, 211 strikeouts. So definitely cooled off a little bit. But in this series, in Milwaukee alone, he had more hits in this series than he had in all of the previous 7 games in the month of June. He went 7 for 12 at the plate, including back-to-back 3-hit games, 2 home runs, 2 walks, and just 1 strikeout. I had talked about the fact that the strikeouts have become a little bit of a problem for Ronald, especially again early on here in the month of June. But just 1 strikeout in this series for Ronald, and back-to-back 3-hit games, as I mentioned. You now look at the season total for Ronald, and we're still dealing with a pretty small sample size, less than 100 plate appearances, but in 18 games, 68 at-bats. He has 24 hits, only 2 doubles, but 6 home runs, 13 runs scored, 11 RBI, 10 walks to 22 strikeouts. That's a 353, 436, 647 slash line, and a 1083 OPS. So again, those numbers are going to come down, but it is just incredible to see all the time that he's missed and that he was able to come out and just be on fire like this. I'm going to try to keep it positive, but it's also a bummer that he's played so well and this Braves team still hasn't been able to win with him. But, as we've talked about baseball, it's not just one person. We know it takes a complete team, and they're just not getting that night in and night out. But he is certainly doing all that he can. You look at the savant numbers for Ronald. He already has a max EV of 115.5, which I'm pretty sure he got in his first game back in that home run that he hit. 96.5 mile per hour average exit velocity would be the highest mark of his career. 17.1% barrel rate would be the second highest of his career. 65.9% hard hit rate would be significantly the highest of his career. So that's likely going to come down. It's usually more around 51 to 55%. 13.7% walk rate is a great walk rate. 28% strike rate is too high. But as I mentioned, just 2 strikeouts in his last 4 games, only 1 in the series against Milwaukee. So hopefully that's getting under control. It had kind of gotten out of control those first 7 games in June that I talked about. And look, 2023 seems like the clear outlier. We saw that strikeout rate for Ronald go from 23% all the way down to 11%. But he can still be a really good MVP level type of talent with a strikeout rate 24%. So I don't need it to be all the way down to 11. That's certainly going to help his batting average. But if he's getting the power that you're seeing right now, you'll take a 23 to 24% strikeout rate if he's going to be on a 40-plus home run pace, which is what he is on right now. I'll get to some of those pace numbers in a moment. I think one thing that is really significant looking at Ronald and him coming back is the ground ball rate. Since that first ACL injury, we saw his ground ball rate really start to take off and skyrocket. In 2020 or before 2022, it was always in the 30s, his ground ball rate. But 2022, it was 47.7%, and it just continued to go up since then, including last year, it was over 50% ground ball rate for Ronald. And this year, so far, we're starting to see that ground ball rate go down. It's at 46.3%. So it's lower than it was even in that 2022 season coming back from his first ACL injury. So I think that's very important for Ronald, especially as it goes to the power and being able to get the lift. He's hitting the ball in the air a little bit more, and that is great. And it's telling me that he trusts those knees, that he can bend on those knees, get under the baseball. So that is very important and a key stat that I was going to be looking at, regardless of what the numbers look like. I was going to be seeing what that ground ball rate looked like for Ronald. Is he able to trust those knees and trust those legs to get under the baseball and drive it? And so far, it has been a resounding yes. And here's the other big thing for Ronald so far this season. You remember at the beginning of last year, what was really killing Ronald Acuña Jr. was he was just getting blown away with fastballs. It was puzzling. Couldn't figure it out. Don't know what happened. Unfortunately, he got injured before he really got a chance to turn it around, although he was doing a little bit better with the four-seamers before he got hurt in 2024. This season, he is hammering four-seam fastballs. He's hitting 353 with a 90% hard hit rate against four-seam fastballs. So, again, that was just couldn't figure that out because he always has hammered fastballs before. Could not figure out why that was the case in 2024. Was worried it might be with him being gone for so long, trying to catch up. He talked about it himself. Being on time with the fastball was key for him in his rehab. I'd say he's done that. He has absolutely obliterated four-seam fastballs. He hit just 172 with a 49.3% hard hit rate against four-seamers last year. And like I said, this year he's hitting 353 with a 90% hard hit rate against four-seamers. So he is on time with the fastball, and he is absolutely destroying them, and that is great to see for Ronald. He's been pretty good in the field as well. We saw him make a diving catch the other night. I'm not saying he's Gold Glove out there, but according to Baseball Savant, and again, you take defensive metrics with a huge grain of salt, but he's actually has a plus run value right now. According to Baseball Savant, he was -3 in both 2022 and 2023, and they had him at a 0 in 2024. But I think he's been fine out there. Obviously, the arm, we've already seen him show off the arm. We know just what the threat of his arm does in holding runners at first base. So I think he's been serviceable in the outfield. Haven't really noticed any plays that he's hurt the Braves defensively. So I've been, pleasantly surprised with that as well. Now, you look at the pace numbers for Ronald, and right now he's currently on pace to hit about 25 home runs this year. And over 162 game pace, he's could hit 45 home runs with what he's done so far this season and be around a 10 WAR player, which is just incredible and tells me that he is still an MVP player. And by the way, this is without him running. We still haven't seen him running yet. And that is the question. When will he begin to run again? Because it's great. He's getting on base. He's getting all these singles and these walks. When is he going to start running? Because that's when the real value for Ronald comes. And when it really helps this offense take off is when he's able to run, get himself in scoring position, turn a single or walk into a double, and help the guys out behind him from hitting into double plays. And that if one of them does get a hit, that he's able to score. I don't know the answer to that. Sorry. It still looks like he's being cautious when he's moving around and running. You had the play at home plate a couple of weeks ago that Tui sent him, and maybe that's why Tui's no longer at third base anymore, but he didn't even try to slide or get down or anything. So it still feels like, and even see him running in the outfield, he's being kind of cautious when he's having to break down on those knees. So I think it's just a matter of him feeling more confident. I don't know if the team has told him not to run right now, but it does feel like he's still being a little extra cautious when he's running. You look at his sprint speed of 27.4. That's not much lower than what he had in 2023 when it was a sprint speed of 28. So it's not like the speed's not still there. And that's not an overwhelming sprint speed. It's been much higher than that early in his career, but he stole 70 bases that year. So I think he's definitely in there. He's capable of it. I think it's just, him getting more comfortable, more acclimated. But I do think he will start running at some point. But right now, you look at his leads over at first base, and he's not even really attempting or threatening to steal over there at the moment. He's also played in every game since coming back. The only game he didn't start, he ended up having to come into the game when Stuart Fairchild got hit on the hand. And there have been 3 off days since he returned. So he's had to play a lot. They would like to rest him, but you just can't. And you need him in the lineup each and every day. I think the other question with this too is that I have, and I'm sure all of you do too, another question that I can't answer, but why wasn't he brought back sooner? You see Ronald come back, play like this out of the gate and how hot he is. That was, and it makes you just wonder, why couldn't you have brought him back sooner? He clearly looks ready. He said he was ready for a long time. Why was he not brought back sooner? And again, even with how well he's played, it hasn't necessarily led to a ton of wins for the Atlanta Braves. So maybe it doesn't make a much difference, but I got to imagine having Ronald in there, maybe a week or two sooner. I know a lot of us, myself included, thought he'd be back at the beginning of May. Others thought maybe the middle of May, and it wasn't until late May that we saw him return. But if he's back a couple of weeks sooner, I got to figure that's a couple more wins for the Braves. And you could use all the wins that you can get right now. Perhaps holding him back is the reason that he is playing so well and why the Braves haven't had to sit him. I don't know, but man, it would have been nice to have Ronald in the lineup for, more of the season, because the way he is playing, he's got to be in there every day. He's just been outstanding. He's been even better than I could expect it. It's got me really hopeful for the future of Ronald Acuña Jr. We'll see if maybe he slows down at some point. Again, we've already seen him kind of hit a little bit of a lull, but even Ronald's lulls, he's still getting on base over 30% of the time. But just excited to have Ronald back. And again, it's fun. Again, as bad as this team may be playing, I can tune every night because I can't wait to see what Ronald does. And when Spencer Schwellenbach takes the mound now, I can't wait to see what he does either. He was brilliant on a Wednesday, helping lead the Braves to a series win. We'll talk about him in that game here next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. That's 50% off your first year when you go to monarchmoney.com and use our code LOCKEDONMLB. I'm telling you, this is going to help you out a ton. You're in a relationship with your spouse. It is very user-friendly and helps you out a lot. Take the stress out of managing your money with Monarch Money and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your first year. Thank you as always for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen, solely getting you caught up with everything happening around Major League Baseball. Lindsay and the guys on MLB Game Night giving you the biggest highlights from each and every day around Major League Baseball. We'll have 2 more episodes for you here on Locked On Braves this week, one on Thursday night, another live episode, and then a live mailbag episode on Friday afternoon. So get your questions prepared for that as the Braves begin a series with the Rockies, which we'll talk about more in the last segment of today's episode. But we got to get to this series win over the Brewers because you got to relish in the moment when the Braves actually win a game and win a series right now. And that's exactly what you got in this one. The Braves get a 6-2 win in the finale. That's after dropping the middle game in this one. Started by Grant Holmes, 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, 3 earned, 9 strikeouts, but 2 home runs. He had 20 whiffs in that game. He was really just bitten by the home run ball, and the walks really prevented him from going deep in the game. Certainly not Grant Holmes' best outing, but even in that outing, you could see, some really good stuff with Grant Holmes getting the 9 strikeouts, getting the 20 swings and misses. Again, just really those 2 home runs that bit him in this one, leading to those 3 earned runs that he gave up. But he did well enough, pitched into the 6th inning, gave the team a chance to win. It was just a game where the offense decided not to show up. But they did show up in the first and last game of this series. And in the last one, Schwellenbach is the story. We got to talk about him because started this episode out talking about the fun that is in this Braves team still, with being, 10 games under 500 going into Wednesday. There's still several reasons. I wanted to see how many I could actually think of before I said several. But there are several reasons to still tune in and watch this team. And Schwellenbach is one of them because of days like Wednesday where he goes complete game. So 9 innings, obviously, 5 innings or 5 hits, no walks, 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts, 1 home run allowed to Rhys Hoskins on a sinker that was down and out of the zone. But Rhys Hoskins, just a very strong man. He didn't even finish his swing and crushed it out of the ballpark. 105 pitches and 55 four-seamers in this one. Averaged 98.2 miles per hour. Suddenly, this guy has just become an amazing pitcher with really high fastball velocity. His that 98.2 mile per hour average is up 1.2 on his yearly average. 11 whiffs on 33 swings against his four-seamer, 9 called strikes. That's a 36% CSW just on his four-seamer. And again, I always remind you when I look at called strike plus whiff rate, I'm looking at something over 30%. He had 36% just on his four-seamer. 15 whiffs overall, 3 of 6 on the splitter. But again, it's just impressive what we've seen with this four-seam fastball and the velo just ticking up on that. We talked about it a lot on the postcast. And it is incredible that he has the pitches that he has, the command of all of them, the movement of all of them. They're all good pitches. But now he is suddenly a guy that can throw 98, 99, 100 when he needs to. And it's not just that he can touch that velocity. A lot of pitchers can touch that velocity. I watched Giancarlo Lara pitch for Gwinnett on Wednesday, hoping to see something that can maybe join the Braves bullpen. He was throwing 101, but had no idea where it was going. But with Schwellenbach, he's hitting 98, 99, and he is controlling it. He is commanding it. And that is the big difference here, is that he still has command over these pitches. And so, again, you add in a four-seamer that can hit 98, 99, 100 with all the other pitches that he has, and you're looking at somebody that I think can win a Cy Young one day. That was my bold prediction coming into the year, is that he would finish top 3 in the NL Cy Young. I looked really smart early on. Then he hit a hiccup, but now he's getting back to being that guy that looks like he can be a Cy Young candidate, if not a Cy Young winner someday. And that's how good Spencer Schwellenbach has looked here lately, and how good he's really looked, again, most of the season, outside of a little bit. There was a 4-start stretch there where he got hit around a little bit, starting April 15th to May 3rd. There were 4 starts where he was just getting hit really hard. But ever since then, it just feels like he's taken off. And it's not just that he's still being efficient, but being a little bit smarter about it and going for the strikeout a little bit more, where he was being efficient early on, but pitching more to contact. Now he's being efficient and just striking everybody out. And if you combine that with Spencer Schwellenbach, the efficiency and the ability to strike hitters out, I mean, it's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I don't think I'm overstating that fact. And you look at the season now for Spencer Schwellenbach, 14 games started, 3.11 ERA, a 1.00 whip, 89 2/3 innings, just 84 strikeouts. But that just shows you early on in the season, he was pitching more to contact. But you look at the strikeouts over his last handful of starts, and he is, clearly getting over a strikeout an inning, got a strikeout per inning in this one, 9 and 9 innings. But over on the season, still 14 walks to those 84 strikeouts, a 225 batting average against. I mean, those are just really, really good numbers on the season. And that's with having some rough starts in there. He has 2 starts where he gave up 6 earned runs, another start where he gave up 4 earned runs that are kind of ballooning those numbers even more. Outside of that, he's been really, really good. 9 of 14 starts, he's given up 2 earned or less. 11 of 14 starts have been quality starts. Even in that stretch that I was talking about, the 4-start stretch where he was getting hit hard, 2 of those starts were still quality starts. So even in his quote-unquote bad starts, he's still keeping you in the game. He's still giving you length. In his last 7 starts now, he's gone at least 6 innings. So Schwellenbach, again, thought maybe he was having a little bit of a sophomore slump after the great start, but he is back on track to looking like one of the better pitchers in all of baseball. And he is really, really fun to watch. And you just add that velocity to it now, and it's very impressive. You look at the bullpen in this one, not a ton to take away. One thing I will say, though, is Dylan Dodd probably needs to get a high leverage situation here soon. If you can line it up against some lefties, even better. But with the question marks you have in the bullpen, and as good as Dylan Dodd has been at Gwinnett in his small sample size and lower leverage situations with the Braves, I think you got to give him a look in high leverage and see if you really have something there with Dylan Dodd. It's not a risk you really want to take when you're trying to win every game, but hey, who else do you really trust right now in the 6th, 7th inning in a tight game? So I think Dylan Dodd deserves that opportunity here pretty soon. And then Dylan Lee, he was picked to close out Monday's game, even before it kind of got blown out of proportion there and ended up being a 7-1 win. But Dylan Lee was up to close it out. And then in the 9th inning on Wednesday, Snicker had Dylan Lee up to close that one out if Schwellenbach got in trouble. So are we leaning towards Dylan Lee getting the next opportunity in a save situation? It sort of seems that way. I won't get into the offense too much here. You kind of had, a tale of 2 sides, which has been the case for this offense for a while. You just don't know what you're going to get day to day. In Tuesday's game, 1 run on 8 hits, no walks, 10 strikeouts, 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position, 3 extra base hits, but all doubles. And that was the difference in Wednesday's game. 6 runs on 10 hits, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. They only had 2 extra base hits out of those 10 hits, but both of them were 2-run home runs. And look, as sad as it is for me to admit that this offense just can't be a complete offense where they score in multiple ways, although they did that on Thursday. In that 2nd inning, you had the 2-run homer by Michael Harris, but then they also got a 2-out run thanks to a walk to Nick Allen, a single by Ronald Acuña, and then a single by Drake Baldwin. So that was nice to see, doing a little bit of both in the same inning. But when it comes down to it, this offense, and really many offenses, can't excel without the home runs. This is a lineup that has to get at least a home run or 2 per game in order to have a good chance at winning, because they're just not going to get a lot of hits with runners in scoring position. They're not going to be able to manufacture runs, at least not until Acuña is able to run again. So they are dependent on those home runs. And that's really where you see the difference between Tuesday and Wednesday's games. Tuesday, you got 3 extra base hits, but they were all doubles. 2 of them were 2-out doubles. The other one you actually were able to score because Acuña drove them in. And then on a Wednesday, you only had 2 extra base hits, but they're both 2-run home runs. And so it really is just a difference in, is this team going to get those home runs or are they not? And if they don't get them, they don't know how to score. And that's been the case for this offense for a long time, and it's worked. And they're just not getting those home runs as frequently as we're used to seeing. I did want to mention Drake Baldwin, and Mass Boost mentioned this in the comment section on a postcast the other day. Last 15 games, Drake Baldwin slashing 209, 277, 349. He has really been struggling going back to May 25th. Just 6 hits over that stretch. 2 of them were home runs, though, which is good to see. 3 walks and 10 strikeouts, 3 of those coming on Wednesday. And you just wonder, is the tape out on him a little bit more, or maybe he's just going through a little bit of a lull during his rookie season, whatever the case may be. It's a struggle for Drake Baldwin right now, and how much longer can you put him in that 2 hole? The problem is, I don't know who else you put in that 2 hole when Drake Baldwin is in the lineup. Still feel like he gives you some pretty good at bats, but he is definitely in a bit of a rut at the moment. And then defensively, Nick Allen. I mean, backhands a couple of balls in the hole, throws across his body to get the runner at first. Just again, if he can stay at shortstop all year and play enough games, it feels like a lock for him to win the Gold Glove. He has been that good for the Braves. All right, next, I want to get into what we need to see from the Braves the rest of the way. This was good. This was fun, a series win, but you got to keep going, and you have a great opportunity to do that this weekend. We'll talk about what we need to see next from the Atlanta Braves with the schedule that they have coming up. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it is your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And use our promo code SH5. You're going to get 5% off your first order. Again, that is promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order when you use that at supplyhouse.com. Well, the Atlanta Braves get a much-needed series win over the Milwaukee Brewers. They are far from getting back into things record-wise. They're still 9 games under 500 and not even sniffing a wild card spot right now. They're closer to the bottom than they are to the top at the moment, and just 3 teams behind them in the National League. They're still 9 games back of a playoff spot. They're 2-8 in their last 10, but 2 of the teams they have coming up on the schedule are below them in the standings, in the Colorado Rockies and the Miami Marlins. So there is an opportunity here for the Atlanta Braves to pick up several wins in a row, get that big stretch that we have been waiting for, and get back into this. I know I had the podcast on Monday saying this team is cooked and they're done, and it still feels like that. It is a big hole that they have to climb out of, but there is a stretch here. Now that you've won this series, that was step 1. And remember, I said that even on Monday's podcast when I said they're done, I said there is a stretch coming up here that you could go 10-2. You do that, you're still under 500. You still have a long way to go, but at least gives you a chance. And they have to really have a couple of stretches like that, but this is an opportunity in the schedule where they can legitimately do it. I talked about it starting with that Brewers schedule. You win that series, you sweep Colorado, you win the series at home against the Mets, and then you sweep the Marlins. You go 10-2, and you put yourself right back in the picture a little bit. Again, still a long way to go. The Padres have the final wild card spot right now. They are 38-29. The Braves are 29-38. So there is a big gap that they have to overcome, but you can't really focus too much on where they are in the standings. You just have to focus on the schedule that you have in front of you and taking advantage. We talked about it out in Colorado. Maybe the best stretch that we've seen from the Braves so far this year. They looked really good going into that Rockies series. They win those first 2 games of that series. The offense looks great, and it looks like the offense is maybe going to break out. And then you had the series finale in Colorado where they just laid an egg, and that offense just continued to plummet from there. And it feels like they haven't even recovered, still haven't recovered from that. That cannot be the case this time. You got the Rockies at home. They are 12-54. They've lost 4 in a row. Another team coming in with a big losing streak. But I don't care. I don't care if they're coming in on a big winning streak, big losing streak. It does not matter. You have to take advantage of this schedule in front of you. I know I've said that before, and they didn't. But again, if there is any hope of this team coming back this year, this series against Colorado this weekend has to be a sweep. And you got to go win as many series as you can. You win every series the rest of the way, it's going to be a 90-plus win team. So it's still possible. I mean, winning every series isn't necessarily possible, but you still have it in front of you to get it done. But it's really tight. You have got to take advantage of the schedule when it lines up for you. And right now, it's lining up pretty well for the Atlanta Braves. Again, they took care of step one, beating the Brewers on the road. Now you come home to face the worst team in baseball, maybe one of the worst teams we've seen in a long time. We also said that about the White Sox last year, and the Braves lost the series to them. We said that about the A's the year before that, and the Braves lost the series to them. So it is baseball. Things can happen, but the Braves can't let it happen to them anymore. They've got to sweep this series, try to get some momentum going into a series with the Mets and then a series with the Marlins after that. This is the stretch of the schedule where you can make up some ground, get some things done, but you have to lock in. You have to get it done. You have to get some momentum, at least start feeling good about yourself and give yourself a chance going into July and into the trade, the All-Star break, and then the trade deadline. So let's hope that that happens. Again, this is you can't let series like this get away from you anymore. They've done it too much this year. If you want any chance of at least giving the opportunity, it's not even a guarantee. I mean, they could play this well. It might take 93, 94, 95 wins to get into the postseason this year. The National League is that good. So even if they won every series the rest of the way, even if they, take advantage of the schedule like I'm talking about, they put themselves in so much of a hole. It doesn't guarantee them anything. But I do at least want to be a fan that has hope that they can turn things around and that they can win enough games to get back into the postseason. And it's just fun. I mean, that series win over the Brewers, that was fun. I haven't had fun watching the team like that in quite a while. So I would like to enjoy that more going forward. And hopefully we enjoyed a lot over the weekend. I'll be there on Sunday. So hopefully I really enjoy it then. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Locked On Braves. Thanks so much for joining me. Jeffrey Humphreys, Jeff Barry, Dot Cards, 14K by the All-Star game. We are getting really close to that. So hopefully that is the case. Mass Boost, Miguel Faria. Thank you all for joining me here live on today's episode. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment down below. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And on the audio version, leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast. And we will talk to you next time.